Don't do it or I'll get really angry. Ever told this to someone and ultimately they did exactly what you told them not to do? Well, today I'm going to explain to you exactly why disobedient people don't listen to you in the first place. How do they think and how do they function in that way continually despite repeated instruction? And what can you do to deal with them more effectively? Coming up in this video. If you've ever watched Dexter's Laboratory where he tells Dee Dee, don't press the button, and she ends up pressing it anyway.
Ooh, what does this button do? Please, do not push the button. You have no idea what...
Well, that's what we are here to discuss today. Disobedient people have this ability to do the exact opposite thing that we tell them to do. But why do they do it? Why do they behave in that fashion? Can't they understand simple instructions? Today, I want to tell you all about this. Why do disobedient people behave in that fashion? And what can we do about it? Remember that someone who is disobedient usually has that pattern already built up over a period of time. They aren't good at following instructions. Or have you thought about this? Maybe they haven't been instructed properly. When we frame it like that, it makes you think a little differently. Maybe they haven't been instructed properly growing up. There have been a variety of incidents during which they have not been framed in the right way and they haven't been told that things need to be done like this. And that's the whole issue. Now, if I told you, don't go in there, what's the problem there? What's actually happening within your brain? Now, there are two sets of things happening. The first thing is, don't. Now, with this word, remember that someone who is receiving that is initially supposed to freeze. They're supposed to stop all of the things that are actually going on around them, what they are doing, and they're supposed to freeze. However, when you follow it up with the instruction of go in there, immediately the instruction that follows the don't tells them to go in there. So the brain is made to stop when it hears the word don't, and at the same time, immediately it has to follow the instruction of go in there. Not only does this make them want to follow the instruction that you've just given them by telling them what not to do, but it also builds up their curiosity. I wonder what's in there. Maybe I should go check it out. Or if I told you another statement like, don't think of a man wearing a white shirt and blue jeans. Immediately, your brain thinks of a white shirt and blue jeans and a man wearing it. It's that simple. So the whole issue here is that when you stop someone's brain by freezing it by saying the word don't, immediately you follow it up with an instruction by telling them what not to do. This is the whole issue here because people are not clear about what you have just told them. The instructions are not clear. And if you are dealing with a disobedient person, typically this is because of a variety or a pattern that has been built up since a very long time. So it's not completely your fault, it's not completely their fault. However, we still need to know how to deal with them. Having said that, now realize that there are two kinds of disobedient people. The first kind of people are those who take too much responsibility and turn information into instructions. And the other kind are taking too little responsibility, and at the same time, these are the people who turn instructions into information. So the first kind, taking too much responsibility and turning information into instructions, and at the other side, we have people who take too little responsibility and turn instructions into information. Now that I've laid out the two kinds of people who display disobedience in varying forms, let's discuss exactly how these people think so that we can deal with them more effectively. Remember that someone who takes information and turns it into an instruction, to give it in an example form, you need to realize that these people actually are the initiative takers. They do things before people actually tell them to. Let's say you're a boss and you have an assistant. Now, this assistant is a very loyal person, is usually keeping things in order and follows your instructions really well. And sometimes to a point that proactivity goes overboard. Now, let's say you walk into your office one day and tell your assistants, man, this room is dirty. This gets that person thinking and tells them that, okay, maybe I need to do something about it. So if they have been told something like, don't keep the room this dirty or don't keep things in this fashion, they immediately start to think about what needs to be done. So before you walk in the next day, you are presented with a spick and span room and they have thrown out some of your stuff. There's the issue. Because now they have taken that simple piece of information that don't keep it this dirty or don't keep it this unclean, and now they have transformed it into their own thing. They were able to transform information into some form of instruction. They took it upon themselves. They took the initiative and now they have cleaned your room. What's happened? Now you're missing a lot of your stuff and now you're frustrated with your assistants. On the other hand, these kinds of people who take instructions and actually turn it into information, they frame it like they don't really have responsibility, or they may be an employee or a worker who have created this framework within their mind that, okay, now that I have been instructed, I'm not going to really worry about it. I'm just going to shrug it off. And that's what typically happens. Imagine a worker who slacks off and doesn't actually complete their work. A student who is supposed to submit his assignment but doesn't do it on time. Here's the issue. The thing is, these are the people who feel it's like, I have been instructed about this, but there's no real incentive. There's no real reason why I need to follow through with this. Or they may feign something like, I didn't really have to do it, or I wasn't sure about what you said. Despite being given proper instructions, they tend to give you all of the possible excuses that they can find and ultimately say that, hey, I thought we were just talking about that stuff. I didn't realize that you wanted me to submit the project on that date. When we look at both of these kinds of people, we have to realize that we need to frame our instructions very crisply and very clearly so that they get the message to ultimately change their behavior in future circumstances. Losing your temper isn't necessarily the best solution. However, if you want to deal with disobedient people, you need to use the following tips. And tip number 1 is tell them what to do, don't tell them what not to do. Tell them what to do, don't tell them what not to do. It seems almost controversial. Let's picture this. You're going to a dentist. What's the typical thing that they say? Hey, don't worry about this. This isn't going to hurt. Hey, this will only take a second. Instead of saying things for what they actually are. Hey, this may hurt a little bit, or this will be really quick, or this may get uncomfortable. People always try to sugarcoat things and not frame things the way they need to be said. It immediately pushes someone to think in the exact opposite way that they are meant to think. So when you tell people directly and you tell them for sure that this is what I am expecting of you, then the dentist or anyone else can relay instructions in a better fashion. So tell people what to do, what to know, how to function versus telling them how not to do it. And once you do that, you become more capable and you put yourself in a position to actually deal with the two kinds of disobedient people. The first one being those who take information and turn it into instruction. Now, the same assistant who cleaned up the office and threw out some of your stuff, sit them down, bring them closer and tell them, hey, you know what? I'm really glad that you took the initiative to clean my office. I think it was mighty good of you, and I don't think someone else would have actually done that. However, I didn't really foresee that you would clean my entire office and throw out some of my stuff, because when you cleaned up the office, you threw away some important papers. And that was very relevant to the research work that I was doing. And it contained some important records that I had collected. Can you please try and run it by me next time whenever you do something like this? Typically, they will answer with an okay. What you can do is actually make them go through it again. Relay the same thing that you just told them back to you. So, could you just tell me exactly what I just told you, so that I'm sure that you have gotten the message very clearly, exactly what I was trying to say. Again, when they relay the message back to you, things become more clear in their head. And if there is something missing, any things that are still unclear or things that need to be clarified, you can do that again. And ultimately, they are in a position to say that, okay, so if I want to clean the office, I will take your permission next time. That's what they are going to end up saying. And that's the kind of frame you want to create. Whenever you have overly enthusiastic people or people who display disobedience, not because they really want to be disobedient, they really want to impress and prove their significance to you, these are the people whom you handle in this way. Discuss with them, tell them exactly what your needs are, and make them relay those needs after instructing them. Having said that, let's move on to the last one, and that is the most important one: people who fail to take responsibility and turn instructions into information. These are the people who get misled all of the time, have distractions, and don't really get the work done. Typically, the best way to deal with these people is to explode and lose your temper. I'm kidding. The way that you need to handle these people is actually maintain a list. Maintain a list of where have they gone wrong in the past? Where have they taken a wrong turn? Where have they messed up? So that you have proof to show them that, you know what, you didn't do it right this time, and here's proof. Because these are the people who will argue their way out and say, hey, I didn't have enough time, give you all of the excuses in the world that will ultimately make you feel like you're the one at fault. And they are masters at doing this. Disobedient people, especially the kinds who turn instructions into information, will try to find a way out. So be careful when you're dealing with this. You need to have enough proof, actually maintain a log of whenever they messed up. Typically, the number of examples that you want to list out in this is about 3. Having odd numbers is pretty good as well. So once you have that list, present the list to them. Inform them of their successes and their failures, and wherever they went right and where they went wrong throughout the entire process. So let's say it's a student. This person has been skipping projects and not been scoring well in school. How can you go about dealing with them to ultimately help them out? What do? You frame it accordingly and show them their successes and failures. Hey, there was this test where you did really well at the start of the year. However, as the tests have been going by and the year has been progressing, I don't really see those scores like they used to be in the first test. Where do you think things have been going wrong? And if they actually do end up agreeing with some of the lists that you made, well and good. If they do not, typically they may argue wherever there are failures, or they didn't really comply, or they have their own reasons why they try to walk away from responsibility. Typically it is due to something that, I don't want to be overburdened by this. Let me push it away. That's the whole issue with this. So if you can have a discussion with them, frame it in the right way that, okay, now let's get down to business. There are 2 things that are going to happen. I can either give you a punishment, or you can decide a punishment for yourself. Remember, a punishment can take 2 forms, where you introduce a painful stimulus, something that makes them regret what they have done, or they regret the situation by you taking away something like a privilege. For example, when a child is hit by a parent, that's a positive punishment. Whereas when you take away a privilege, you ground someone, that is usually a negative punishment. Keep in mind that hitting children or giving the right kind of positive punishment to someone, that is the most important thing. Because hitting people, it has been verified by research that it doesn't really help. However, making them run or do something that is beneficial, if you aren't really able to decide a positive punishment that actually befits them, what you can do is let them tell you. Let them tell you what exact punishment that they are going to decide for themselves if they fail to comply on future occasions. What can they decide? Well, it can be a variety of things. Make them list it out, maybe build a contract and make them sign it. It's a very powerful thing that you can actually do so that they follow through with the instructions that they are agreeing to. Having said that, make them go over some positive punishments, some negative punishments that may come as a consequence if they fail to comply in future. Make them sign it, and then if that doesn't work, then move into the next thing, that is empathy. Make them realize what it's like to be in your position. Let's say you're the parent and your child is not performing. Ask them if they are competent enough. What would you do if you were in my position? What kind of punishment would you give? What kind of privilege would you take away from me? What would you do to actually improve the situation? Once you make it come from them, it is so powerful, you have no idea. Because when it comes from you, it typically means something or it means nothing to them. They may argue about it, they may complain about it, or they may not even pay heed to any instructions that you give. If you have a problematic person in your environment, this is very typical. However, if you make it come from them, if they say it to you and they agree to it with you, then it means everything. So if you can frame it in that fashion, make it come from them, agree with you on certain terms that they say themselves, that can be the most powerful thing that you can possibly do to deal with someone who takes instructions and turns it into information. Remember, these are the people who have avoided responsibility for a very long time. It's up to you to put things together for them, bring them back from the wrong track and put them on the right track so that they can find better habits, find a better work ethic, and actually achieve what they want for themselves or the company that they are working with. Remember, you want to benefit all parties whenever you're dealing with different kinds of people. And even if you have to somehow hold their hand and take them to wherever they want to go, so be it. Remember that disobedient people, they require time. They need time to change because there is a definite pattern that has already been built up over a period of time. And if you want to help them out, you're going to have to give them their space and keep working with them over a period of time. Having said that, if you're looking for more content like this, you want to learn more and become a master communicator, hit the I button, go down to the description box and watch the entire playlist that I have made for you on how to become a master communicator and improve your communication skills. Down in the description box, go check out that playlist. And of course, if you found this video useful, hit the thumbs up button, comment down below, tell me which strategy you are going to use first. Is there someone in your life right now that is giving you a hard time? Who is that person? Let me know down in the comment section below and let me know if this strategy actually works for you. If this is your first time here, remember, we are dedicated to making you the best version of yourself and having you perform like a champion in every single area of your life. That's my gift for you. That's my vision for you on this channel. Hit the subscribe button, turn on bell notifications, and don't miss a single video that I put out for you. This is Vikram signing off, asking you to follow me on all the social media platforms that I just listed, and I will see you in the next session.